What up, what up, what up? This is Mike the Philosopher here with another one, with a special guest. Khafilah is in the building. How are you?
I'm doing good, Mike. How are you?
All right, doing real good, doing real good. So, this world we live in, something special.
It is. It is indeed. It is. Things are changing quickly.
Things are changing, people are changing, ideologies are changing. Um, I wanted to talk to you about a couple of things. Now, first off is the whole Kiki Palmer situation, right? Now, her ex got into it a little bit with the public because he publicly showed some signs of displeasure with how she moved when she was with Usher. What are your feelings about that?
I think we are living in a culture in which our values have shifted. And what I mean by that is that you have women as well as men doing wifey and husband duties without a ring. And
Okay.
I think that when you have situations in which individuals are doing husband and wifey duties, people get their feelings hurt because technically, um, we're boyfriend and girlfriend until there's some type of definitive um, discussion around what our next steps are and what our relationship should be. And what I mean by that, me personally, I'm not washing, I'm not cooking, I'm not doing any of those things. And I think that we've seen so much in social media and we've seen so much in general with women as well as men putting themselves out there like that. And they're not, there are repercussions for that. I think I sent you a video where this woman was talking about how she went to the grocery store. She spent over $100 buying groceries because her boyfriend wanted lasagna and then he wanted donuts, and then she wanted to get one of his donuts, and he basically told her, no, get your own. And unfortunately for this sister, she had 3 kids, and I'm thinking to myself, why are you doing wifey stuff with 3 kids? And more importantly, why are you spending $100 and filling up this man's refrigerator with food? I think we've lost sight of what it means to date with intention,
Mm-hmm.
what it means to just enjoy being in one another's company. I think that we've got a culture in which women as well as men are being desperate, or to lose the language that the culture is using now, the pick me's and the beta males, if you want to use that language. And people are forgetting how to date. Dating is exactly that. And my take on it, she's dating him. He made her a baby mama before he made her a wife. And of course we don't know what their conversation was or what goes on behind closed doors, but my take on it is that I think women in general, we need to basically watch how men treat us and not tell men how to treat us. And based upon how a man treats you as a woman or vice versa, you need to decide if you want to participate in that relationship. And I think that we're not doing that anymore. We're doing wifey stuff and husband stuff and not having a clear definitive conversation around where this relationship should be going and what are we doing.
Right.
And that's my take on it.
Well, okay, so I get where you're coming from. Um, Let me ask you this. On a first date, should a man pay for everything? Or
See, I'm
should they go Dutch?
See, I'm not even going to get, I think on the first date we can go Dutch, because the first date is getting to know one another. It's getting to know whether or not I really want to have a second date with you or whether he wants to have a second date with me. So I don't really think there's anything wrong with going Dutch, especially in this day and time. Because the like I said, the values of men and women have changed drastically. So going Dutch is a good thing. We can split the bill. I mean, first of all, I think it's archaic the way that we date now. It's like, oh, let's go to dinner. Let's do this. Let's do the things that I should say that our parents did And I think that we need to change the way that we do. I personally feel that people should change the way that they date. I don't think there's anything wrong with having a cup of coffee. I know a lot of women was like, oh, that's a cheap date. Okay, it's a cheap date. If it's a cheap date for you, let's go get some ice cream. Let's go to the park. Let's do a picnic. Let's go skydiving. Hell, if you're adventurous, let's go for a hike. I think once you change the dynamics of how we date, then I think that you will find women will find themselves in situations where they can easily determine, as well as men, if this is a person that they want to continue to go out with. I think it's this spending money for food and going on these expensive dates. Why are we doing that?
Well, it's because that's what a lot of the large population of women prefer. Let me ask you this: should you go Dutch until you're married?
I don't think you can go Dutch until you're married. I think you can go Dutch on the first date, and then I think moving forward, depending on the individuals and how they want to move forward and how they want to define things, will determine if you continue to go. Listen, I'm just going to put it out here. Listen, maybe in your 20s and your 30s, maybe, because there's some mature individuals, you may not know what it is that you want. But by the time you hit your late 40s, I would even say late 30s, late 40s, 50s, even 60s, if you don't know what you want by that time, you should not be dating, period. You should not be dating, because you've lived enough and you've had enough of life experiences. I hope at 40, 50, and 60 that you should have a clear definition of what it is that you want, what it is that you're not going to tolerate, and what you're willing to participate in. And if not, maybe you shouldn't be dating.
Well, yeah, that's something to be said about that. But here's the thing: a lot of people have to determine people representative. Okay, they have to, because people show representatives early on,
I mean,
and
people do show representatives early on. I will agree with that. But again, like I said, once you hit that 40, 50 mark, there's no more representatives, at least not for me. You are who you are. And if you're still playing games in your 40s and your 50s, woe unto you. I mean, really, like, what's the point?
so okay. So give
My
me a
mom is saying that you have, by the time you hit your 50s, you have more life behind you than you have in front of you. So why play games? Just be very sincere. And like I said initially, is that you have to decide whether or not you want to participate. You can't tell somebody, I want you to treat me nice. You watch how people treat you. And if they treat you not the way that you feel you want to be treated, then you bail out. You don't hang around for a second, third date, or even marry that person. You move on. So it's like,
oh,
what's the point?
so give me a perfect scenario of dating and how it should be from a year period. So you meet for the first time, you go Dutch. Excuse me, you go Dutch. You probably go to a coffee date or something like that, right?
I mean, you
You don't
can.
do anything out of the super extravagant.
Right.
And from that moment, take it from there. What how should everybody move
I
after
mean,
that first meeting?
I can't speak for how everyone should move, but what I would say is
Just
that,
hypothetically, so you can,
well,
yeah, just for
hypothetically speaking,
everybody. Just
you're going on the first
if
date.
you ruled the world, how would dating go?
I don't want to rule the world. That's a tall order. But I mean, I think if you go on the first date and either one of the parties spend more time looking at their phone and texting, then that's not the person for you. Because I think what has happened in this society is that we are more glued to our technological devices versus human connection and human communication. So if I'm going out on a date and a brother's more glued to his phone, that's not the person that I'm interested in, because I'm interested in a person that can communicate. If a brother goes out with a sister, she's, she in her phone and she's taking, I mean, like, really, how can I get to know you if you are glued to your phone? I want to be able to have a conversation with you to see what you're about. And like I said, once you hit the 40, 50 mark, you kind of know, or you should know, what it is that you want and what it is that you don't want. And for me,
But for
uh,
all those young people who are coming up, how should they do it? 18 and up. How should they go about dating? I mean, I know what you're saying about the older generation, and that's fine, but there's a lot of young people out there who need guidance, probably even more so than the older people. So,
I mean,
uh,
I have a couple of I would say cliches, a couple adages that my mother used to tell me when I was a young woman. One of the things that she would always say, um, you don't have to look like a slut to be sexy. You have to leave something to the imagination of the man. And so I'm not here to tell women how they should dress, because I know that we're living in a different time. But I think if you're trying to attract a certain type of man, if that's what you want, a man that's respectful, a man that honors and respects women, a man that understands value in a woman, then I think that you can dress accordingly and you can look sexy without being sluttish. I mean, it's just your value system and what you believe. I think what's happening is that a lot of young girls have such um low self-esteem, or they're not in homes in which they're being told that they're valued, or maybe they don't have fathers in their lives that are grooming them and telling them that they're valuable, some of them may feel that the only way that they can get a man, or the only way they can be valued and loved, is to dress provocatively that will get the attention. But it's an attention seeking culture, and so that's what young women do, and that's what women do. And I always say that it's indicative of how you've been raised, or what you've allowed your peers to pull you into. For me, I'll give you an example. My son and I travel all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I say to him is that these are not dates that you take girlfriends on. These are dates, these are not, excuse me, not places you take your girlfriends on. These are places you take your wife. And so he's like, what do you mean, Mom? That, for example, I took him to Singapore. He's been to Dubai, he's been to Japan, Malaysia, he's been to a lot of places. Let's leave it at that. And all the places that we often go to is always 5-star hotels. There's always top of the line hotels. And I always say to him, these are not places you take girlfriends. These are places that you take your wife to. Now, I also say to him as a caveat, if you're dating a young lady and you foresee that this is someone that you are going to wife, then yeah, maybe you can take your girlfriend, fiance, to one of these places in the future, because you believe that this is the woman that you want to marry. I truly believe, Mike, that each and every one of us, both men and women, we know from the instant we meet someone, whether this is someone we want to have long-term future with, or this is someone that we want to be in bed with. We all know it. Especially if you live long enough. It's not rocket science. Men know from the jump when they meet a woman, if this is a woman they're just going to kick it with, or if this is a woman they're going to have sex with, this is a woman they're going to wife. Men know that. And that's how I'm training my son. Like, these are the types of women that you marry, and these are the type of women that you don't marry.
All right. Now, here's the thing, though. When I look at places like India, right?
Mm-hmm.
India has arranged marriages.
Mm-hmm.
India has the lowest divorce rate in the world.
Mm-hmm.
India has more married people probably than the United States have population almost. Okay.
Yeah.
Should the US bring back arranged marriages? Because I'm gonna tell you something. A lot of people don't know what the hell they're doing. I'm gonna just be real, be honest. A lot of people, they think they know what they want, but sometimes what they want is not good for them. Sometimes they have a bad judge of character. Sometimes they base their preferences on ridiculous standards, both men and women. People don't know what they're doing. This is why arranged marriages became a thing, because young people especially don't know what they're doing. Now, maybe for people who have went through a marriage before and been married, maybe they can, like, freestyle it like we're doing right now. But for young people, they have no clue. They have no clue on what they're doing. And it's proven that places like India are successful. Now, I think a big part of that is because in India, they don't place so much importance on superficiality. They don't place, oh, does she got a big badonk, or is he a mega millionaire, or is he 6 feet tall, or this, that, and the third. They don't look at superficial stuff like that. and it's proven to work for them. What do you think about that?
Well, I would say that arranged marriages, and I'm gonna have to we probably have to take a break so I can get some water because I'm coughing out here. Arranged marriages never left in the United States. Arranged marriages continues to exist, especially among the elite and especially among classes of people that have economic status in society, as well as sorry, as well as people that are a part of organizations like Jack and Jill, sororities, fraternities. They haven't gone away.
Bless you, bless
They're
you.
still here. They're still here. If
Yeah,
you're in certain circles, then you meet certain types of men and certain types of women.
but that is pretty much throughout the elite is what you're talking about, and a lot of them are in a closed circle, and it's not the majority of society. The majority of society is freestyling it, and the majority of society don't know what they are doing because they are basing a lot of their desires and everything on superficial things, looks, money, height, things like that, how well someone is in a bedroom, or if they got six abs, or it
Well,
just ridiculous stuff.
I hear what you're saying, but I think where we have dropped the ball as a people, I think among the college educated, those of us that have had the privilege to go to college, to travel, to do different things. And I'm not saying if you're college educated, if you're not college educated, that it can't happen. But I think what we've done is that those of us that are Black and middle class or upper middle class, because there's really no middle class anymore, we've dropped the ball. I mean, we used to do things in which we would have functions. And, for example, I use myself as an example. My son has been to like maybe, if I'm counting correctly, 14 different countries. He's been to every continent with the exception, with the exception of South America and Antarctica. Well, he's well traveled, so it would be very difficult for him to interact with an individual that may not come from his background. And so as a mother, it is my responsibility to make sure that I continue to place him in circles where he can meet young African American girls or young ladies that have similar experiences to him. And then some of those organizations are like Jack and Jill. Some of those organizations or places are like, the 100 men of color, 100 concerned Black men. So the point that I'm trying to make is that we have to begin to put our sons and daughters in situations where they can meet individuals that come from certain types of families that have the morals and values that we ascribe to. If not, then we'll run amok. Now, oftentimes that goes awry because we have some of our children want to, experience the other side, if you will. And I'm not trying to sound elitist because I come from the inner city. But what I'm saying is that we have a responsibility to expose our children and expose them to a type of lifestyle that will give them the opportunity to choose the type of mates that are based on morals and values, not simply based on what someone looks like or what's in their wallet.
Right,
And
and I agree with that, but the problem with that is I agree with that, but the problem with that is a lot of parents don't don't know either. They haven't been raised with how to move and how to spot I guess you could say quality people, or people with morals and things like that, because they have issues themselves. A lot of them don't even have relationships of their own. A lot of single parenting is going on in the community, and they don't even have those values. So how can they teach that to their kids? Now,
I wouldn't say
you
they
and
don't have
me,
values. I would say that it just simply means that individuals have to seek out organizations and surround themselves with people that have those similar values. I mean, like I said, I grew up in the inner city, and I still have several childhood friends. And two of my childhood friends, are millionaires 2 times over, and so they move in certain circles. And so their children are grown, their children are married. One in particular, her daughter did not necessarily follow the path, because prior to her mother becoming a millionaire, her mother was out there like that. So, it is what it is. But it's just, I think there's no manual on how to be a parent. I think it all boils down to what your goals and what your visions are, what your goal and what your vision is for yourself and for the generations that come after you. My mother did not have a manual that said, Khafilah's going to go here, there, and in these different places. I basically was fortunate that I had a mother that allowed me to, to go to camp, to go overseas at a very young age. And so because of those opportunities, I was exposed to people that thought differently than I thought, and opened my eyes to different things. And so because of that, I was afforded certain types of opportunities the older I got. And now that I'm a mother, those opportunities have afforded me an opportunity to provide my child, my son, with something very different. Like, he can't even relate to his cousins. When he's talking to his cousins, like, I rode a camel across the desert. They like, that's nice. Or I went to Japan. They have no reference to it because that's not their world. And so for me, my responsibility is to make sure that my son is exposed to children that have similar experiences, because if not, then he'll get ridiculed. And see, that's another thing we don't talk about. Those of us that quote unquote come out of the hood and we chose something different for ourselves, oftentimes we're being accused of acting white, turning our back on the community, all that foolishness. And the only thing we're trying to do is provide a better way of life, or more opportunities, if you will, for our children.
Right. Now, and now your lifestyle and your son's lifestyle is an exception. It is not a rule. Okay, y'all travel a lot, so it can be considered an exception. That's probably why a lot of his cousins don't relate. But let me ask you this question: with social media, with OnlyFans, with Instagram, and all these other platforms out here, it seems as though hot girls are winning. Okay, the Kim Kardashians, the Black Chinas. Okay, and it seems as though all of these hot girls are getting the attention. They're getting the money from this attention, and it's a sort of a lazy way to get rich if you're a woman. I'm not knocking it. It just is what it is. With this culture, and with most women, not all, but too many, I would say, transforming into this ideology, how are men expected to choose suitable women out of the group of women that we are receiving right now? Like, what do you suggest as far as if the hot girls are winning, and what the men should do if that's all they have to pick from are hot girls?
Well, number one, I think there's always going to be a group of people, be it men or women, that are always going to be about that bag or about the money. Men, I said earlier, you know what you want, and you know what you don't want. And so for the moment, maybe the hot girls is what the man wants for that moment. As to whether or not he will wife that hot girl, I don't know, but I doubt it very seriously. It's just what you want. I think, again, I'm going to go back to what I initially said to you. By the time you hit your 40s and your 50s, if you don't know what you want, you should not be dating. When you're in your 20s, maybe you're chasing the hot girls. By the time you hit 35, and if you're about that bag, you probably want a trophy wife. That you're not really looking. I'm sorry, the guy's cutting grass and I'm coughing. I just really think that you said what it was initially. It's attention seeking. We are in a culture in which everything is Instagram and Twitter and all. It's an attention seeking culture. And again, I think men, and I don't propose to try to tell men what they need to do, but I think one of the things that men need to start to do is to think with their head, with their brain, and not with the bottom part of their body. And oftentimes that's how men get caught. They're thinking with the lower part of their body, and they're not thinking with their brain. I mean, I was watching Rizzo today, and I'm just impressed with that brother at such a young age, the level of wisdom. But that's indicative of him reading and researching, and just probably praying and meditating. And one of the things that he talked about um, was Sarah Barterman. Sarah Barterman was the African woman that was from South Africa, and she was being paraded around the country because she had a voluptuous butt. And he was talking about, the history behind that, how white folks degraded her and was touching her and made her an object. And he was telling, he shared that knowledge. He says, I'm sure a lot of people don't know about it. And I was like, yeah, a lot of people don't know about it. And I think she she just recently went back to her homeland. They would return her body back to her homeland in 2000, something like that, because I know she died in 1979, and they had her body on, she was called the Venus Hot. Now she had her body on display. His premise was Black women need to love themselves, and they need to stop getting these BBLs. Well, he didn't probably say stop. He was talking about the amount of cosmetic surgery and the BBLs, and getting Black women to understand the history of having a big bottom and what that was in terms of how the Europeans treated this South African woman. And to understand that you have to love yourself, you have to love the body that the Creator has given you, and understand that you have to use your brain and not your body to get what you want. And so I would say the same thing for men. I mean, come on. I mean,
But when they see all of the women who have these surgeries and stuff, even though a lot of them are starting to take them out, I think uh, took hers out. A couple other ladies took theirs out, but they did it to get that attention. It worked. They got the bag, and unfortunately, it started to do damage on a lot of their health.
The attention. I mean, you can't get the attention unless people give you the attention. I mean, I'm quite sure not every brother thought it was attractive, but it's interesting because we've come from a culture where men thought, BBLs and liposuction, well, not liposuction, but BBLs and, what is that, Botox and stuff in your lips and, big boobs. We were in a culture where men, and some men still do, think that artificial look is very attractive. And then you have some men that like the more natural looking sisters, and then there's a mix in between. But I just think that whatever we as a society supports is what's going to get the attention. And unfortunately, the African American culture supported all of that foolishness, and so they got the bag. They got what I mean. If money is what a woman or a man wants, then they're going to do whatever is required to get the attention and get the money. But I mean, it's us. A lot of it is our own fault, from the videos, from the music to the television. It's us. It's we bring that stuff on ourselves. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, our children see that. They see that, and they believe that those things are what is of value and what is considered beautiful. And so I do the total opposite with my son. So
let me ask you this. What is your definition of a traditional woman?
Well, I can't really say there's a traditional woman anymore, because times have changed. I mean, when my mom was born, it was a woman that stayed home and took care of the kids and, raised the family, and the husband went out and he worked and he brought the money home. And when he came home, dinner was on the table. I mean, the house was clean, but that's no longer a reality. I think that, I shouldn't say it's not a reality, because there are some women that stay home. But I think what has happened is that the economy has put the economy and people's desire for more, let's put it in that context, has put women and men in the place where you got two people working. You got both the man and the woman outside the home working. And then when people come home, both parties are tired, and it's like, it's changing because of what people value.
So what is a traditional man? Can you define that a little better?
That's changed as well. I mean, look at the technology. Everything has changed. Traditionally, what my stepdad did was he worked and he brought his check home, and my mother took care of everything that was going on in the house. There was no such thing as a woman taking care of a man, or a man saying he can't find a job. I mean, if he was outside dumping garbage, but he was bringing home a check, that, it was respect, it was honor. But it's so much has changed now, Mike. I really think that the technology and the way things have evolved, and the way people think about life and their desire to have more cars, more houses, more attention, more likes on Instagram. It's created a culture in which people are just simply greedy. It's never enough, and so you got both people working because that whatever more. Let me put it in this context. I think if I could give young people one piece of advice, if you're thinking about getting married, I think you need to sit down and really talk about where you see yourself in the next 5, 10, 15 to 20 years. And based upon that discussion, you begin to put in place goals for both of you. It should not be selfish. It should not be all about the man or all about the woman. It should be goals that are equal, goals in which both parties want to accomplish. And then based upon what your goals are, you can decide if, hey, maybe the husband says, okay, for the first 3 years, you stay at home and I bring the money in because we're trying to reach this goal. Then maybe after those 3 years is up. And the thing about it is, because we are in a society where technology is everything, just because a woman stays at home doesn't mean she can't make money. Make money from home.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry. You can make money from home. So I think it depends on what your goals are.
Allergy season.
Yeah.
Allergy season. Yeah. So yeah, I understand that. Well, let me ask it to you in this way, because maybe this will kind of get the point across a little bit. The question is this. Everybody knows pretty much that for a man, his job, I mean, this is universal. This is all around the world. Everybody knows that a man, 2 jobs is to provide and protect. Period, point blank. Provide and protect. You go all around the globe, and women expect these type of things out of men. Provide, protect. Now, provide doesn't necessarily mean breadwinner, but for the most part, it does mean breadwinner. But it really doesn't. It just means provide something for the family. Okay. Because especially in the West, that breadwinner thing is getting more even now, with the men and the women. But provide and protect, and these are things that men must do. There are no exceptions. Don't pass go. Don't collect $200. Don't do none of that. You are expected to provide and protect as a male. Give me 2 things that a woman is expected to do without exception. Don't pass go, collect $200. Men expect these 2 things out of women, just like women expect those 2 things out of men. Give me two items that a woman must bring to the table or relationship.
So I don't like that bring to the table, because it's an assumption. It makes an assumption about a lot of things. First of all, let me just put a disclaimer on there. Not every woman wants to be married. Not every woman wants to have children. There are some women that choose to not have children. There are some women that choose to not have marriage. And so you can't really say, and vice versa for men. There's some men that choose not to get married and some men that choose not to have children. So I just simply think it just depends on I go back again, what your goals are. And if you're talking about a traditional type of setting like our parents came from, then for the traditional setting, if that's what you are referring to, women bare children and women took care of the home. Men provided for the home, and he brought the check in. But again, I'm going to put a claimer on that. Not every woman wants to be married. And I will also say that a woman's sole existence in life is not to just simply get married and bear children. Again, the times have changed. It's not the same as our parents. When our parents were living, things are changing. Women are doing different things now. And so I think that's why you have to really get away from this notion of tradition, because it does not apply across the board. That's why it's important that you date and not do wifey and husband type of things until you get to a place, until both individuals get to the place to say, hey, I think I want to marry you. I think that this is what I want. And see, and I think that is what is causing so much friction right now, is because people don't know what they want. And men are expecting women to behave one way, and women are expecting men to behave one way, and there's no communication going on.
Right,
And
but here's the thing
that's
though. I understand what you're saying, but for those women who don't want to get married and they want to, live their best life, they can happily, there's chihuahuas for sale.
I mean, come on,
There,
don't do
but
that.
what I'm saying, okay, but what I'm saying is this, okay, I'm not referring to those women. I'm only since we're talking about dating, or we're talking about a union, I'm only
Mhm.
referring to the women that uh, are interested in relationships. What do they? What should men expect? Two things men should expect from those women. I'm not talking about the ones that don't want to be married. They don't. I'm not counting them.
But so yeah, I can't speak for. See, that's okay. I can't
Just for the
speak.
ones that want to get married and
But
have a relationship.
I can't even speak for that. I can only speak from the standpoint of my position, because because you have women in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s and their 50s, and as you get older, everything changes. Now,
But
will I?
that doesn't change with men. Men are expected to provide and protect no matter what the age is. Okay. I'm talking about
Oh,
universal laws that men should expect out of their women. Give me two things. Universal, no matter the age.
again, I'm going to go back to what I said to you initially, because I see what you're trying to do. You're trying to put me in a box to say women do this and men do that. And I'm not going to do that, because, like I said, things have changed. I'm going to go back to what I initially said to you when we started this conversation, is that the fact is that I'm not going to tell you how you love me. I'm going to see how you love me, and I can decide if I want to participate in that. I mean, I think that's Ivana Van Zant. I'm going to quote her because I heard her say that. And so it's about what my value system is and what I want in a man. And I'm going to watch how that man treats me. And then I will decide if I want to be involved in that. And so I can't say to you, well, a woman should do this and a man should do this and a woman should do this and a man. I'm not going to do that. Because again, it goes back to what I said to you initially. When a man meets a woman, he knows where he wants this, with a couple of dates, he knows where he wants to take this. And the same thing with a woman. She knows where she wants to take it.
All
If
right.
you've lived long enough and been married, divorced, or dating, whatever, you know. And if you don't know, you should not be in the dating field. You should not, because that simply means you don't know who you are. That's what
Okay.
that means.
So since that's pretty ambiguous, is it? Well, I'm just saying it seemed very ambiguous. So if that's the case, then should women not expect men to provide and protect like traditional men would do? Because all over the world, women still hold their asks, and their asks is provide and protect. And it sounds to me like you saying everybody should get rid of their traditional views on what the fairer sex should bring to the table. If these are different times and different, uh, you know, we have different ways now to do the technology and things like that. We shouldn't expect women to have two solid things that us as men should be trying to expect from them. So should women also drop this ideology of provide and protect, especially since they're making just as much money as men nowadays? And a lot of them on the gun range and things like that too. So everybody become their own island, their own business, and is there should that happen? Like we're getting to a point now where there's little reason to even partner with each other if everybody's their own business. You understand what I'm saying?
I mean, I understand what you're
Why
saying.
why create a union then?
I understand what you're saying, but I think it's an individual thing. I think what I will value in a man is something very different than another woman would value, and vice versa. And I just think that, you know, if I go out on a date, like for example, I'll use this as an example. If I go out on a date today and the man takes his fob and goes boop boop, and he doesn't open my side of the door, then I know that that's not a man that I want to date anymore.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Those are traditional things that you're
But you
still
say,
expecting.
it's no. It's not about what you expect. See, like I raised my son to do that. I raised my son to open the car door, to open the door when I'm going into the store, to carry the grocery. I raised my son to do that. And I'm not telling him, well, this is tradition, this is what a man. To me, I look at that as a respect. And I look at it from the standpoint that I had brothers that I was born in the 60s, so I had brothers that were much older, and I saw my brothers doing those types of things. I saw how they treated women. And so now in my 50s, in which I missed it, when I was younger because I was following the trends, whatever the girl. Now those are the types of things that I expect because I want to see if you're a gentleman.
Okay, so what should a man expect from a woman, or is it just nothing? Do we have no right to expect anything? I mean, it's very clear what men should be doing, but I don't see it very clear on what women should be doing.
See, I think you as a man know what you want a woman to be doing. I can't tell
I'm talking
you
about something universal though, Khafilah, something universal that men all over, not even just me specifically, universal all over the world that men should be expecting their women to do. Give me two of those things.
but I don't think there's anything that's universal anymore
Why
because
is
of
it
the
so
way that
ambiguous? Why is it so ambiguous when
because
it
I
comes to
think
women?
it has to be ambiguous because of the way that our world has evolved as a result of technology. I think each individual knows what they want out of a relationship.
Okay, so technology says that I have a remote control to all the locks on the door, so open your own door.
Well,
I have technology says that some doors even open on their own if you got a Rolls Royce or something like that.
exactly.
Climb in. So why would you expect a man to open it then? If technology is so advanced, why does it benefit the woman and not the man?
I didn't say it benefited the woman and not the man. What I'm saying is that each individual, be it a man or woman, has a very clear picture of what it is that they respect, what it is that they respect and want in a relationship. Each individual. Like I went out with a couple girlfriends a couple nights ago, and she introduced me to the man that she was dating. Now, I would say she's a millionaire, but I can't speak to what his finances were. I know he was driving a nice, Mercedes. So I'm not going to speak to what his finances were, but she's a millionaire. He opened the car door for her. He walked her to her car door, because we were together. The two of us were together, and he met her at the restaurant. And I noticed all that. She had to go to the restroom. He held her purse. He was walking on the outside with her in the inside, with both of us in the inside, actually. And I thought to myself, wow, there's still, quote, some gentlemen around. Now,
Right.
yeah, he could have basically said, well, heck, she got money. She driving this night. I don't need to do all that. So
Can I ask you the age range of these people?
in their 50s and in their 70s.
Okay. Now we live in a different world, like you said, right? So yeah, they're still going off the old playbook, and that's fine for them. But I'm talking about the new playbook that technology has taken over, because what I'm starting to see is that this whole it gets to new technology and advance when it comes to what women are expected to do.
Let me just say
But
this.
when it comes to men, we go back to the old playbook of the traditional man opening the car doors, holding purses, and that man of today is playing off a new playbook too. So you can't expect those things.
Right. You can't, for some, you can't expect those things. But again, I lost my chain of thought. What was I going to say to you? You can't allow, all I said was that the technology has changed. It has an effect. I think generationally, my generation, or some of us in our generation, still expect certain things from a man and certain things from a woman. I will say that. But I think that you as an individual should continue to be who you are, and things shouldn't change who you are. You should be who you are. So if you think that a woman should hold it down, and then those are the type of women. If that's what you like, then that's what you like. If you like a more natural woman, then why would you date a woman with fake eyelashes and weave and nails? And you date what you like. And so if you
I understand that, but I guess what I'm trying to get to is the service, okay? Because you're in the service industry when you're in a relationship for the most part. You're in the service industry. And what I
Okay.
mean by that is you are expecting certain things from your significant other. Women clear on what they expect, provision and protection. They're very clear on that. It's unwavering all over the world. I've been
It's
around the
provision and
world.
protection if you're married. Well, when you're dating, I personally feel that when you're dating, hey, when
Dating
you're
is a Western thing created to drive industry. Okay. The whole, card industry, the Valentines, the restaurant, going to movies, all of that. Dating is a Western invention to
what's the
drive economy. It is not something that is done in India. You had arranged marriages there. You had dowries in Africa. It is something that is, and it's not even successful. Okay, let's start there. Dating is super. It's probably the worst way to try and find a mate because people don't know what they are doing at all. Okay, and when you have all of these so-called qualifications, you get your standards up so high that only one man can fulfill all of those needs, and that's Jesus. Okay, and especially when it comes to the women. But I'm gonna say for the men, it's almost it gets real ambiguous with women when men have their ass. Let me say this. Um, there are two things that is expected of a woman. Okay, uh, nurturing and respect. Okay. Um, Now, when I say nurturing, that involves really a helpmeet, really a helpmeet. That means helping the man out in every way, helping the children out in every way, and that sometimes includes cooking, cleaning, domestics. Okay. Um, and another thing is expected out of a woman is for a man to get steady loving. Okay. It keeps him grounded. It keeps him at home for the most part. It keeps him happy. It keeps him motivated to work hard for that family unit. Okay, if he is getting uh, those needs met, so that can go in the nurturing category also. But respect and nurturing is what men expect out of their women, and nowadays women don't when the question is asked, what do women bring to the table, the women almost always answer, me, I'm bringing me to the table. Now, what annoys me about this answer is that the table is the relationship. What do you bring to the relationship? Okay, that's it. That's why men should get rid of the table, comparison, because it's really the relationship. Just ask them straight up, what do you bring to the relationship? You are not the table. You are not the relationship on your own. Okay, men have to bring something, and everybody knows what we have to bring. What do the women have to bring? And my answer to that is respect and nurturing of everybody under that roof. That's
well,
what
what about
women, and
respect?
that's what men expect out of their women, because and we need to make this message very clear, because I don't think women even know what they are expected to do, especially nowadays. And I'm gonna tell you, this is universal too. This is universal all over the world. Men expect this out of all of their women, but men have a harder time saying it for some reason.
Well,
You
for
know,
me, I think respect and nurturing goes both ways. It's not just the woman respect and nurturing, but it's also the man respecting and nurturing. I think, see, that's why I did not want to get into what the men do and what women do, because again, like I said, you as the individual, you decide if you want to participate based upon the type of love, or to use your terms, the type of nurturing and respect that man or that woman gives to you. You decide. So if a man is not nurturing and he doesn't respect me, then I'm not going to participate in that relationship. I know off the bat, that's not the type of man I want to date. If you're with a woman and she's not respectful and she's not nurturing you, I would hope that you would know off the bat that that's not the type of woman that you want to date. That's why I initially said to you, it depends on how. You can't tell somebody how to love you. You can watch and see how they treat you, and you can decide if you want to participate. And if you're not respectful and nurturing, I'm not participating in that relationship.
Well, I
Because
understand that, but here's the thing: men expect a level of provision and protection from women too. Men expect their women to, if somebody's talking greasy about them, for their women to get their back. That's a level of
yeah,
protection.
yeah,
And
it's what I'm saying. It's like it's that's why I said we have to move away from these labels of traditional this and traditional that. And you as an individual have to know what it is that you want.
It,
You have to
we
know
do
that.
we do know what we want, but I'm gonna tell you there are some universal rules. And yeah, you said we need to get away from these, but we can't get away from these. Women all over the world is still going to expect their men to provide and protect, no matter where you are on the globe. So, and men have their two things that they're asking for too, which is respect and nurturing. And women don't know this, so that's why I'm saying we need to get this message out, because right now they think that a lot of women think that they can just do do nothing. They say they are the table. They don't have a clue as to what men expect out of them, and that is a universal problem. So if we're going to have these provide and protect rules for men, we got to have this respect and nurturing rules for women, and they need to get on board with this because they're losing a lot of men, especially in the West. Let me ask you this real quick. What do you think about the passport bros?
Well, I think if that's what you need to do because you feel that you as a man are not are not getting what you want from the so-called Western woman, then you do what you need to do to find what it is that you want. It goes back to what I say, you as an individual know what it is that you want. And if the Western woman is not what you want, then go find what you want.
All
It's
right,
as
yeah.
simple as that.
I
But
mean, is that how you feel about passport bros, or
but do understand those women too are looking for finances. Those women too are
exactly
looking
provide and protect?
well.
That's what they're
So
looking for, right?
it's I feel that it's not anything. I would say
But
that
the difference is they know how to bring the respect and nurture to the relationship that a lot of Western women have abandoned.
but I see, I again, you say a lot, and I struggle with that because I think it's also a generational piece. Now, of course, there are exceptions to other rules. I think that depending on what era you were born in determines how you interact with men. I think it's very different for women born in particular generation, and there, like I said, there are exceptions to the rules. It's very different. I mean, I don't hang around women that are popping their neck and disrespecting men and saying all kinds of crazy. Those are not the women that I grew up with. Those are not the women that I went to school with. And like I said, there are exceptions to every rule. So I struggle with that because I think that even within the passport bros, they have to understand also that you cannot step to a woman and your shit is not together. Your finances, your job, you can't do that
Yeah,
because
and
back to what you're saying, if the thing is to provide and protect, then you need to make sure that your package is in order before you start stepping. Because women, I mean, a lot of women do it. It goes back to what I said. They doing wifey type of stuff, and you should not be doing wifey type of stuff when you're dating. I am dating you. I am trying to determine if you are someone that I want to spend the rest of my life with, and he is supposed to be determined if I'm the type of woman he wants to spend the rest. Now, I'm not saying that every now and then you can't cook a meal, but these sisters are washing and cleaning and cooking and sex all the time. It's a lot. And then they invest sometimes 6 months, 3 years, 2 years into it, and the man still ain't put a ring on your finger.
so so if that's the case, right? And you say women shouldn't be doing wifey stuff, why should men be doing husband stuff? Why should
What is
men be
what is
paying for dates? Why should men be opening doors? Because that can be considered wifey stuff. Okay, if we're going to save the stuff that women do for marriage, then we should save some of the stuff that men do for marriage. Okay.
you know what? No, because my son is not
Uh-oh.
married. I'm teaching. No, that
Uh-oh. Double
I'm
standard. Double
No, no,
standard.
no. Hear what I have to say.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't think a man being respectful and protecting the woman, making sure that she gets home safely, making sure that she gets in the car. I think that's just a man's character and how he's saying
No,
yes.
that's
No,
husband stuff. That's
let
husband
me
stuff.
let me finish because my
Okay.
son is not married, and I mean he's not old enough to be married. I think it's just the moral character of how you've been raised. I'm
Mm.
teaching my son, yes, ma'am, no, ma'am, yes, sir, yes, sir. Open the door, and he's not married. He's too young to be. I think it's how you were raised. I'm not teaching him, oh, you only open the door for your wife. You only carry a bag for your wife. No, no. That's a moral, that's morally, that's how the way that I want to raise him. To be a gentleman. In spite of hoochie mama, ratchetness, you still be a gentleman. You are a gentleman. That's
Can
what
I
you
ask you a question?
yes.
If you had a daughter, would you tell her to for potential dates or potential things, would you tell her to cook for that man? Would you tell her to clean for that man? Would you tell her traditional roles that men expect out of women? Or are you only doing that to your son to to be a gentleman to women? But would you teach the same roles for your daughter to be a woman or a potential wife to a man?